So you've had a lot of difficulty getting your story out there in the mainstream media.
The story about the murders, you mean?
Yes, absolutely.
That's what we call them now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started putting it out there early last year, 2021, and no one was interested. I sent it to 28 editors, and after I sent it, I thought, oh, why did I send it to them all at once? I'm going to be absolutely inundated in the morning. I should have done it, a few at a time. But it was tumbleweed. The guy who came to me with his story in the first place, which set this all in motion, he came with me with incontrovertible evidence of what happened to his relative. And both these meetings, they were very cynical to start with, and sort of, they were doubting what we were saying. But as the minutes went by, they were like I always say, their jaws were on the floor, because they were just like, oh my God, and they realised it was the truth and that this was happening. So I said, okay, when this goes in the paper, what pages are going to be on? And they both said, well, obviously it's the front page, it's the main headline. This is a massive story. And then they kind of took all the paperwork that we'd got together for them, files of stuff, and went off. And then one of them said he wanted to speak to some of the case studies that I had. At that point, I think I had 16 or 20 people who were willing to speak and be identified and be photographed and tell their story. And so he spoke to 3 or 4 of those, one of them, and then just went completely silent. And I never heard from him again. So it's like, what's going on here? Because they were so keen, but then they obviously took it to a higher up, and they said no. So made it clear to me that there is some kind of agenda in place and some rules that the editors are being given. One time we were chatting through the open window, and this carer came in. She said, "You can't have the window open." And I was like, "So how am I supposed to speak to him if the window's shut?" She said, "Use your phone." And I said, "He's lost his phone. Anyway, even if he hadn't, it would be like a prison visit. I'm not doing that. Having a conversation with my dad like he's a prisoner in a jail,
No.
It's too depressing, and it's wrong." And so in the end, I just thought, I'm going to get him out. And he said, "Can you get me out?" I said, "Yeah, of course I can." I don't know how I did it, because no one else seemed to be able to do it. I just phoned the manager, phoned the care home owner, phoned the press office, and just said, "I'm coming to get my dad tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Can you have him ready, please? I'm taking him home." And they said, "Well, you'd have to bring him back." And I'm like, "Yeah, whatever." And they said, I said, "You can't keep him like this." I said, "You're breaking the law." I said, "What you're doing is you're violating his and my human rights, and you're also, it's false imprisonment. You can't imprison a person. It's unlawful. You might think you've been told to do it, but it's wrong." And actually, if you did look on the government website at that time, they weren't telling care home managers to keep people imprisoned. They weren't, because they know not to do that. But the media were. So the media were making the care home managers think they had to do these lockdowns and imprison the residents. And the government can just go, "Well, we didn't tell you to do that." We'll be seeing this all coming out really soon. They did it with the schools, didn't they? There was some discussion in the House of Commons or something at one point where I can't remember which politician it was now, just basically saying, "We didn't tell you to shut down the schools. We recommended it. It was guidance." Much like Hancock has been saying in the TV show that he's been on. I'm glad to say I haven't watched any of it because I don't have a telly, but I've seen clips on social media. And he was basically saying, "I was allowed to snog my new girlfriend in the cupboard because, there was just guidance saying you can't kiss people." I've got 5 people. Their loved one that was killed was under 60. 5 people. So I interviewed 3 of them the other day and wrote it up into an article, sent it to the Daily Telegraph. And it's basically saying, look, it's not just elderly people or people with terminal illnesses that are being euthanised. They're killing younger people now. It's getting younger and younger. And this is something that this whistleblower doctor said to me the other day as well, that over the last 2 years, she's noticed that the dead bodies are getting younger and younger. And but also a lot of suicides, young people.
Right. That makes sense. I mean, the lockdowns have caused so much misery. People have got to take more personal responsibility a bit in this situation as well. And on that subject, do you think that people who are working in care homes and in the NHS now should continue to work for these institutions, given how they're behaving?
No, especially as they're all going to be thrown under the bus any minute now, aren't they? They're all going to be... I was smiling with glee. I suppose I am a bit gleeful because I personally know some nurses, not that many I must say, nurses that I've known can be very nice. They can be really stupid.
Yeah.
They can be very acquiescent, you know. They do as they're told. They have this great kind of out of proportion respect for consultants and doctors and think they're gods, you know. My next film I'm doing is called Playing God, by the way, which addresses all this. And yeah, so they kind of do, most of them deserve to be thrown under the bus, especially the murderers amongst them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I said before in an interview, if you give me a gun and tell me to go and shoot that person over there, you don't get done for it, I get done for it. So they're the ones administering the shots, as it were. They're doing the killing, and they're saying, oh, we're just following orders. Well, we all know what we've heard that before. So it's not going to work.
Exactly.
They must be pretty scared. But luckily, most of them are too stupid to even realise. And that sounds a terrible thing to say. Kate speaks very well about it, Kate Shamarani, about the known as the stupid fat nurses. But she doesn't hold back. And of course they're not all stupid and they're not all fat, but a lot of them are. And they're the ones that are going to be done for this, and the government are going to be off the hook.
So just tell us about your new film.
So I'm working on a new film now, and it's called Playing God, and it's about medical in the UK over the last 50 years. So it's how government protocol and guidelines and rules can lead to people's deaths. So we're kind of giving a voice to a few people, quite a few people actually, talking about their own personal experience and what's happened to them. It's kind of put there to give these people a voice, and so they can tell their stories. And when we do bring these people together, the main common denominator that they all experience is that no one believes them, you know, and everyone thinks they're mad, and they feel alone. And these people as well, they can never grieve properly until they've got justice. They can't even grieve, and it's definitely something that they all go through. And the guilt as well. That's the other thing. The guilt that they all feel. If only I'd done that. If only I'd said that. You know. So this is my way of getting their stories out there, because I think if you hear the actual personal stories, it's so much more sort of provocative and makes it real. And that's what we're trying to do with this new film. So that's Playing God, and we're crowdfunding it. Raised £7,000 so far, which we've spent. We've finished filming it, but we now need to do the editing and promotion and stuff like that. So that's going to cost a bit more. So if anyone can give us a few quid towards that, it would be good. Thank you.
Yeah, fascinating. I'm looking forward to that. That's brilliant. What a great topic. Thanks for all your work as well. You're brilliant.
Thank you.
Hiya, please like, share and subscribe, and keep your eyes peeled for my upcoming channel, The Director's Gut. Lyme's disease and SIBO are threatening my speech, so I'm writing an evolving health guide and asking for donations in order to fund treatment. The links are below. Cheers!